looking for a podcast to help you transform your physical and mental, one that'll shoot you straight between the eyes with truth and no BS, helping you have the right mindset to accomplish things, the iron will and fortitude to follow through with what you say you're going to do. No excuses. Mark owns martial arts schools, and after 30 years, he has some real insight for real talk, real life, real conversations, motivational, fitness, self-defense, weight loss, live from the Great 1-8. This is Real Talk with Mark Cox.
All right. Good morning, Jeannette. Good to have you on the show. I get to say good morning finally because you're in the West Coast, unlike the East Coast. Usually everybody's on the other side of the country, so it's their lunchtime while we're starting the morning with our coffee at 9 a.m.
Exactly, I know. So good morning and good afternoon to those who are on the other coast.
On the other coast, yeah. They'll be chiming in with us. So this is awesome. I get an anti-bullying speaker and a publisher and an author. So I'm looking forward to this because, this is kind of how I started my career, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But let me introduce you a little bit, and then I'm going to have you take it over if you had anything to add, and then we're going to jump right into it. Does that sound good?
That sounds great.
All right, perfect. Jeannette is a 2-time #1 international best-selling author, sought-after speaker and coach for adults and children. She's passionate about helping adults and children live the life that they want to live, no matter what age they are. Jeannette achieves her goals through one-on-one coaching, group coaching, speaking, writing, and you can connect with her at all her. We'll have all that at the end of the podcast, where you guys will be able to connect with her and on her platforms, and if you're seeking out. So if there's anything else you'd like to add, go right ahead, Jeannette. The floor is yours.
I am passionate about helping all ages because as I was speaking to kids, adults kept coming up to me and also saying that they had learned from my speaking. But I always keep going back to the kids because I figure if we can get them when they're young and teach them self-confidence skills and success skills, then they don't have to relearn everything like I did as an adult. So although I focus on all ages, I always love going back to speak to the kids.
So I told you in the beginning that my kind of career started because I know this is what you're passionate about, is the bullying aspect of what you like to go and speak about, anti-bullying, how to help kids overcome it. And we talked about adults also being able to help them. But I was bullied pretty much in most of my time in school. I started lifting weights, when I was about 12 years old. So I've always been kind of the bigger guy. And it was, whether it was names or whatever, and I was still competitive. I played all the sports, but it was just a constant barrage. And then one day, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in 7th grade. So back then, when I went to school, it was 7th, 8th, and 9th was junior high. Now it's 9, 10. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
high school back. So back in my day, it was 7, 8th, and 9th. So I was a scrub. I was a 7th grader, and the 9th graders, and we're on the basketball field, and we're kind of playing. And man, this 9th grader just kept on hounding, and I just kind of got sick of it, and I took matters into my own hand, and I just decided to cold cock him right there on the playground. And we were going up for a basket, and I just boom, and I just told him, I said, I am so sick of hearing it, and I delivered a blow. And I'm telling you, my life changed from that day. There is no bullying after that, I can tell you that. But there's a lot of whimpering in the background. And I think I told you a little bit about, it's almost like I felt empowered at that time. And you have to be careful because the one being bullied can all of a sudden become a bully.
Definitely.
Or a protector. And I was kind of like both, right? I was kind of the protector in school anyway. So those that were a little bit less fortunate, they would run to Mark, and I would be the one to say something because my reputation carried on based on what I did. But do you feel that you see that sometimes as you're speaking to people?
Definitely. I think the one who's been bullied, especially if you think about boys and their size. And then as they in what, 9th, 10th, 11th grade, they just grow all of a sudden. So those people who were taller and bigger and the bullies often stay that size while others then just get bigger than them and come back to retaliate. I also always say that when I'm speaking, I am an anti-bullying speaker, but I speak to those that are bullying, not only those being bullied, because those are bullying lack self-confidence or they're taught that at home. And so reaching them without, I want to change up how we quote unquote punish kids. We pull them out of school, which is what they want, right? There's got to be other ways that we can empower them so they don't bully or they're not bullied. And it's building that self-confidence, that self-love. So I definitely think that those being bullied can become the person that bullies. And in fact, one of my missions is, it's a huge mission, but it's to stop school shootings, because over 50% of the school shootings happen. Obviously, they have some mental health issues too. It's not just this, but they were bullied for years and they come back and retaliate to the school or the place that they were bullied at. It's like never left them. So if I can change even just one person or get to one person, whether they are being bullied or bullying others, whether they're adults or children, because we talked about that, adults also get bullied at work, at home. And it's, if you can build these success principles, I'm a Jack Canfield speaker, when you're young, then you can become more successful in life because you don't allow this to happen to you. For me, I was bullied. It's for years. I was bullied. I was in this school. It was great. I was, very popular, and my dad pulled me out of the school for a lot of reasons and put me in a private school. And as soon as I walked into that school, the entire 3 years I was there, I was kicked, hit, spit on, verbally bullied, to the point where I didn't think it was that I was good enough to get help, because obviously there was something wrong with me if all of these kids were ganging up on me. And that's what I want to do. I want to build the self-confidence of these kids so that they know they're good enough to not only get help or call somebody, but they don't deserve what's happening to them.
Really, yes, real sound advice. And I'm going to tell you, so I'm going to give you some of my experiences. So maybe you can kind of give me some insight on what. So my children were also bullied in school quite often. Mm-hmm. And the school, I believe, is the one, I believe there's two things. In the elementary side of things, where you can really make a difference, it's my opinion they don't have enough males on campus to help facilitate boys, especially.
Oh, definitely. Very short-staffed.
Yes, I believe that when I would go to my elementary school, I started go ahead and volunteering at the end of school for just to be on the playground. So, and I did it so my kid would stop being bullied, mm-hmm. right? And there was a couple things that I asked about. I said, hey, the one that keeps on doing this, why don't you let me have a conversation? Why don't you set a conversation up with the other parents? And they just would absolutely refuse to have parents speak to parents. I'd have to try and seek it out when we had functions, and I finally saw, oh, that's so-and-so's parents. And so I would go and I would go speak with them. And I have found out that most of the time when I went and spoke to somebody, that there's no way that they wanted their child to be doing any bullying. I can tell you that. They were very upset at the point that they didn't even know about it, which goes back to the school because you're not facilitating what you're supposed to be doing. And it made things come down because when I was on campus, people knew me as Mr. Cox, and I've had my martial arts school here for 20 plus years at that time. And so everybody knew me. So it really wasn't all that. And it was just me having my presence there and being able to talk to the kids. And like you said, most bullies are bullies because somehow their self-confidence is just in the toilet. You know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure that I could help facilitate that. So the other thing
that's important though, to be present at your children's school, right?
Yes.
To be seen there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other one is in high school. High school was the worst. None of my children liked high school. None of them. It was their worst experience. If you speak to every one of them, it was their worst experience they've had in school was high school.
Yeah.
And my one son, hey man, he was bullied excessively. He was overweight at that time. Now he's a freaking machine, just an athletic machine. But in that time, he wasn't. And he was just constantly getting bombarded. And I would go to the dean and I would say, hey, listen, now you've got two choices here, because if you don't take care of this, I'm going to take care of it. And if you don't take care of it, because there was one kid there that, the one without a dad and really no place to go, which kind of I'm talking. So yes. I waited for him. I waited for him because the school wouldn't do anything. So I waited for him in the morning. I put the fear of God into him. You know what I mean? And it was on the wall and his heart's pounding. And I said, do you feel how that is, how scared you are? This is how kids feel with you every freaking day. And then, of course, after I did that, I felt so guilty. And I'm like, I need to go find this kid. And I'm going to tell him I'm going to teach him martial arts for free. Let him come to my school. Aww. Maybe I can make a difference in his life. And so I went after him. But unfortunately, I never got him to get into the school. He stopped his bullying, but I just couldn't get him into the school, and life just didn't let me do that. But I had to take that into my own hands too. And I just hated doing that because the schools, I don't know, you go out and talk to anti-bullying and schools talk about anti-bullying, but they don't do anything. Has this not been what you've seen?
I think that just like I also have a medical background, and just like in medical, they're so short-staffed right now. Post-COVID, they had to, so if they were working on bullying programs, and California has a lot of laws and that you have to have these programs, but if they were working on them, everything switched to how can we offer school remotely? What can we do with COVID? And then it's now post-COVID, such a different world where kids have social, emotional issues. They don't know how to be with other people. They don't know how to interact. They only know how to interact with technology. So now there's even an additional issue with it. I do think that you have to advocate for your child, but I also think that you need to create open communication with your child so that you can include them in figuring out how to handle this. It's teaching them life school. So one of the things I offer is a free video and PDF on how to create open communication with your children, because I think that they need to be part of the solution. Not only, yes, you need to advocate for your child, but you also have to create that open communication. You may not even know they're being bullied. And then with that, go to the school and make sure that they have a program or be involved. Now, I know a lot of parents are very busy and they don't have time. But if you're at least having that open communication, not only with the school, but with your child, you'll know what's going on. Kids are also afraid to tattle. Depending on what age you are. I have 5 children in a blended family, and our youngest is 14. And your situation sounds almost exactly what what happened to him last year, which is ironic to have a mom who's an anti-bullying speaker and then to get bullied. And he's huge. He's a big, he's short, but he has big muscles. He just touches me and I'm like, you just bruised me. It's going to be a big kid, probably like your son. And he went through an issue and I had to go to the school and advocate, but I involved him in the solution because I didn't want to go there and end up causing more issues for him.
Yeah. Well, and I see even in my one son, especially, there is runoff from the bullying. Now that he's just an athlete, that, the bullying thing is one thing. They talk a lot about race being a problem. And I've told everybody, I said, try being fat in school because it doesn't really matter what your race is. Yep. Just try it. It does. And then try and be a female in that world. It's even worse. And so, I've always had a special heart for that because that's what I did. That's what got me in this mode of playing football and having this rage, and still I sit, and I was 20 something years old when I found martial arts. I didn't find it as a kid. I wished I did, because it could have honed in. I ended up doing martial arts because my brother kind of got me started. He's younger than me, but we started this thing together. But I went in there thinking, I'm already aggressive and all about it. I'm just going to learn how to, take it to the next level. And then it changed my self-confidence until the point that, wow, you know what? As much as I liked to fight when I was a young guy and just had so much rage from the bullying, that it kind of lifted my confidence up, and I felt, and competition fighting took over me having to think that I have to fight the world. But I watch my young son, he's 24, and I see him struggle too with this bits of anger here and there, right? Even though he's completely right, he's completely changed his whole life, his looks, everything else. There's still something in the back that triggers him from being bullied as much as it was. He even had as a young male, I'm going to have my son on here speaking about this one day, but he also had an eating disorder that I didn't know. So when he was losing weight, he was throwing up. And I'm going to tell you something. I pulled my hair out looking for somebody that works with males and eating disorder. That was just non-existent, hard to find.
I know a few people now. It's different now.
Right. So back then it just was unheard of. And so, and I see him a little bit still struggle with it, where he can just kind of come unkiltered. And I used to tell him, I said, Dan, I said, I know where this is coming from, because your dad has that same thing, but you need to learn how to put that in check as a young man, because the wrong decision at the wrong time can alter your entire life. And that's not something you want to do. So this is so I was so looking forward to this today, because this is so prevalent in my circle that I wanted to get some advice from you for parents. So when you go, and let's say you're going to go speak, when you say you're an anti-bullying speaker, are you going to PTAs? Are you going to school and speaking to the children? Which way do you go?
I'll speak at camps and schools. I've been doing a lot of one-on-one classroom speaking, and even down to preschool. And a preschool is a lot different. Their attention span is a lot less than what I can talk to them about. But I also talk at assemblies, and when I do that, parents are usually involved. It's important that the adults in the children's life be involved and understand what they're learning, so that they can help them, because it is building, and I keep saying this over and over, but building that self-confidence and self-love, which is actually two different things. So self-love is how you feel about yourself, and self-confidence is how you feel about the task that you can complete. If you have it's like an armor, and my program is, as I'm a superhero fanatic, I dress as Wonder Woman. All my books are around superheroes, and my program is called Connect to Your Inner Superhero. So if you build that armor and really know that it doesn't matter what other people say about you, really what matters is what you say and think about yourself, then eventually you can get rid of those voices in your head that tell you you're not good enough. And especially building that at a young age, so that when you do encounter bullying, if I had that armor and found those superhero traits when I was younger, it wouldn't have mattered all the things that they were saying to me about myself, because I started to believe them. And when you believe them, which is probably what your son has, then they come up in those times when you're not feeling well, or you're not feeling like you're good enough. So it's building that superhero, finding the superhero traits. And I feel like everybody has their own unique superhero traits. And if we all connect with those, it's kind of like your soul purpose, and then serve others doing that, you're going to be generally happier anyways. You're going to have self-confidence anyways, because you're happier with what you're doing. Like when you found martial arts, it made you happier, and you felt better about yourself, and you felt more confident, because it's something that you connect with and a part of your purpose. So it's working with all of those and just building that over and over, and it's creating new habits. Instead of breaking, well, for adults, we have to break those habits and how we feel about ourselves, but creating habits at a young age. Ironically, though, you talk about health and wellness, and that's where I came from. I'm a nurse, and I was in medical for over 25 years. But when my mom passed away, she passed away at 66. And I had to relook at my whole life. And I shed 85 pounds. I became a health and wellness coach to try to do preventative with people instead of fixing issues. So I also come from that background of health and wellness. So we have a lot in common.
Yes, because I would tell you that in my household, my son that I was talking about, 24-year-old, lost 110 pounds. My oldest boy, he was 245. Now he weighs 150. Okay. Wow. My oldest son. Myself, when back in 2019, when my son did get married, I was probably at my worst there. Just a really bad knee and everything else. And I had a blood clot, and that blood clot almost killed me. Yes. Right. I had double blood clots in my lungs, had no idea. And there was a life change there. So, and then I went on this thing, and I said, okay, this is going to change. And I did the same thing. So I had lost 97 pounds in that. And even though I was a martial artist, I was just a heavy athlete. I've always been a heavy athlete, always. And I could just maintain and do things as a heavy athlete. But as I got older, that started to hinder me. And so I do have a passion for those that are overweight. It's one of the ones that I see coming in my school on a constant basis, where I know the life they live.
It's hard. It's hard being overweight, especially as a girl. You mentioned that earlier.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Body image as a girl is all you look at. And unfortunately, now we have cyberbullying in addition to it, where they talk about body image. And if you're overweight boys too, I'm not saying, I have 4 boys and one of them has struggled, because I struggled with weight. Both of my boys, not my stepchildren, also struggle with weight. And my son he's shed over 100 pounds twice and gained it back. So
right. Even that battle going up and down, because both of my boys, they still, they are just pristine athletes now, but they still have this body morphia. When they look at themselves, they don't see what they see. And I understood that. I said, hey, I'm the same way. Your dad's the same way. I just, and I've told them before, I said, this is why your dad is the way he is. Because I'm always constantly battling some smart ass comment. And I said, how I dealt with it as a young man was I'd take you literally out of a car, and I had no problem fighting at all.
Right.
And then I said, but that didn't take it away. It just made me feel better in the moment. You know what I'm saying? And now my son talks about both my kids, the one that's married and the other one, he said, Dad, I see these guys that made fun of me in school, and man, their life is just not what it is. And I said, well, that's because you took control of something that was controlling you. You took control of it. You changed your life. And that mentally you have to kind of get out of the mentality of, that you're a constant victim. And that's hard, man. I didn't realize that in the health and wellness, how much we do have in common. And that is because I know this life and I know it well. And when I have students that come in with these issues, I feel for them, man. I've had more kids crying on my shoulder than I care to deal with.
You're a therapist and a coach.
Yes. Well, trust me. I tell everybody all the time, I said, you would be surprised on what my office is. Punching and kicking is the easy part of my job. Helping a single mom or dealing with very aggressive boys. And because I was a single dad now. I've been divorced for a long time. And I raised my kids. They live with me. I raised them. And I've always had a heart for single moms, because even though single parenting is not easy, I've always felt as a father, I've had an easier time, especially raising boys. Yes. It's a little bit different because I have one girl, and, she made me all soft because I have to talk and I have to,
it's 4 boys and 1 girl. That's funny. Right. In our family. We have 4 boys and 1 girl.
That's what I raised. I have 3 boys, and I raised one that was 12 years old, and I had him bring to me. So I raised 4 boys and a girl, just like you did. Mm-hmm. And my girl, of course, is my heart, and it's just different. But I didn't really have this discipline issue with my boys. I mean, they get out of line. I wasn't the father to get out of line with. And I watch poor mom struggle with it so much. You know what I mean? The boys get older, and their testosterone levels are going up, and they test their mom.
They don't know what to do with it.
That's right.
They're sitting in school all day with that testosterone, and they don't know what to do with all of that. I mean, my husband's good with our boys and, having that now, but I was a single mom for a long time, and I have 2 boys, and he has 2 boys and a girl. And my oldest son also has Asperger's. He's the one that struggles with, they both struggle with weight, but he especially. And so in addition to being overweight, having a quote unquote, I don't call it a disability, it's a unique ability. Having that, but being a mom trying to raise a child who's way bigger than me. And, and all that testosterone, when they hit puberty, it's different. The child changes. It's hard. It's hard for any single parent. I think you're working, you're doing everything in the house, and then you have your kids. And then how are you going to be involved in the school when you don't have time to do anything for yourself? So it's fitting all that in. It's getting other people to help you and finding that village. So people like you who teach martial arts. But it's not easy. And then when you shed weight on top of that, you always see that person in the mirror that you were. Right. And it's learning to see the person that you are. You always are afraid. You have that fear that you're going to get big again, that's going to happen to you. And with me, because I have the same issues as my children, I have to plan what I eat. And I know what works for me because of years and years of working on me. I know what foods I can eat. I know what foods I can't. I know what happens when I eat other foods. And I'm going to gain weight again. And both my boys have that too. So working with kids, again, young, to combat things like bulimia and food issues is good because you can build, in addition to self-confidence, you can build a way to handle that because it is I believe it's in your genes. My husband can eat whatever he wants. He could eat 20 cookies a night and he's thin. If I did that, I would be 450 pounds. So it is different for everybody, and you have to learn how to handle that for yourself.
And I think that's, I don't know if you speak on health and wellness, even to children, because, nutrition really isn't spoken about. But what I do speak to my kids here, I said, you need to be the best version of yourself. And part of this is this. How do you have a healthy mind? Your healthy mind becomes with a healthy body. When you have a healthy body, your mind becomes healthy. And but it
starts with your mind and change everything. Yes. It's not even the food you're eating. It's your mind first.
That's correct. And I've told everybody this, and I'll tell people my story too. You can wish till you're blue in the face. When you put your mind to what you say you're going to do, then things can happen. I can't. It's like getting somebody to black belt. I can want it more than you can, but until you want it, it's never going to come. Yes. Right. And I think that. And I've told kids here, that are getting bullied, if you want to stop that in your world, you need to be the best version of yourself. And so that means you have to have a healthy mind. Yes. That means that you have to, think like a warrior and figure ways out of situations that you're in, whether that be, once you're mentally strong, your physical part will become better. And I try and work on the psyche of, and I use martial arts as a tool. That's my tool.
Yes.
Right. When you're able to, all of a sudden you're having contact with each other and you are put in positions of, man, this is kind of a little bit of life and death for me. I'm doing some jujitsu and this other kid's trying to choke me out and I'm trying to fight and I'm trying to figure ways out. And then I'll take the life lesson of what happened on the mat and take it beyond the mat. Now, you have to do the same thing when you're bullied. You're going to have to figure a way out right there. Do you confront it? Do you frame it out? Do you talk it out? Do you walk away? And this is how I think and I've asked I have tried so hard to allow martial arts in public schools. They just will not allow me to do it.
Really?
And right, I cannot get LA
Not
Unified
yet.
to
Not
let
yet.
me,
We'll get it.
let me. They always think it's super violent, and I said it's not what you think. It's
They're
not.
probably watching Cobra Kai, which I
Right.
love that show. But they're probably watching that and going, "Wait, we don't want that in our schools." You need to, school them on that. It's actually different.
Cobra Kai so good.
I like me and my son watch it, but I can see if they were watching that they would be like, "Wait."
Well, that's the big persona. Whenever anybody talks to me about there's two things I always get all the time about martial arts, right? When they find out what I do. The first is, man, you must really be able to kick someone's ass. And the second is, you must be seriously disciplined. So those are the two things that, right? So those are the two things that people ask all the time. And I said, and I always tell them, I said, as a younger man, I was a young pit bull, man. I was getting after it. And as far as the fighting and stuff goes, but as an older man, I'm more the junkyard dog. I'll use the fight when needs to, but you have to use wisdom to, how to form others. You know what I mean? So, that's where I'm at in my life at this point. And
it's different when you're older. You learn a little more than when you're younger and you have the testosterone running through you and you don't know what to do with it. So how do we teach them? And as parents, I think one of the hardest things for me is empowering my children and not being mother lion and going and fixing it for them, because you're not always going to be with them, right? So how do we empower our children to think with their minds so when they are in situations that you're not there to pull them out, they can get themselves out by what are they going to do next? Like you said, are they going to walk away? Are they going to fight? And I'm not going to encourage my child to get in fights. For one thing, he's so strong that he could hurt somebody very badly. And if he starts fighting, I know what's going to happen. He's not going to stop at that moment because the testosterone going through him. So how can I empower him to figure out what to do next? To not put himself in situations when my youngest was in this situation last year, he had two choices and he chose the wrong one. That they asked to meet him after school and in some place, and instead of coming and letting me know, so we've changed that. He decided to go meet them. So how can we figure out together a solution? And we have worked through it, and the end of his last year was the best that he's had so far. He's going to be in 8th grade.
No, that's good.
But it took a lot of talking and working together and not me fixing it for him, because I wasn't there at the time when he was ganged up by 5 people outside of a classroom waiting for him. But he was able to figure it out himself after we talked through it. And I think that's really hard for a parent, is you have to teach them to leave you with all the knowledge that they need to get through life. And I always want to coddle them and I always want to take care of it for them. And you're not there all the time.
I totally get that 100%. That's so true. I wanted to, you guys got mama bears, man. Papa bear shows up, man. I want to destroy everything. I still get that way. I was just watching. I can't even coach my own kid when he was just at a tournament and he's 30 years old. I'm like, I have to have somebody else coach him because I get so zoned in. I can't function. He's like, Dad, he goes, you gotta let somebody else coach me because I'm over there. I'll freaking smash you. So,
yeah. You want to protect them. It's your children. I'm Sicilian. The Sicilian comes out in me. As little as I am, I can, I can take care of my kids, but you can't. I can't coach my own kids. There's no way. I can't even coach them in shedding weight. I can give them the tools, but I can't tell them what to do. It has to be their intrinsic motivators that pull them there. And my oldest son, it's in the middle of all 5, but the one that has a diagnosis on Asperger's, I've worked with him and talked to him and I'm letting him figure it out on his own. He figured it out twice, how to shed over 100 pounds. He can figure it out again, but it's hard to do. It's hard for me not to step in, especially with him he's almost 23 now.
He's almost 23. Yeah. It's definitely hard as parents. I certainly, Juanita Cap is on here. I don't know if you've ever met Juanita. Have you
I
met
haven't.
Juanita?
Hi, Juanita.
You would love her. She's from South Africa. She's a martial artist. She's got a podcast called Meticulous Moments. What I'll do is I'll put you two together. You guys would have a really good chat. She's good people.
You interviewed her. I think I heard you interview her.
Yes, I have.
Yes, I did hear that.
I love her. Yeah, she's so we've gotten close over the years, and we met through the CLA also. So it was good, writing a book. So let's talk about writing a book. So you have 2 bestsellers. Are your books children books? Is it about anti-bullying? What is your books that you have?
The 2 bestsellers are compilation books. So one is called Women Who Rise, and it came out in the beginning of COVID, and it talks about my story with my mom and how I had that defining moment when she passed. How was I going to move forward? I've actually now lost both my parents, which has been really hard. The second compilation book is Life Lessons in Success, and it's stories from a bunch of Canfield trainers, and it's both female and male. And that was about my bullying and why I have my bullying program. Then I have 3 children's books based on superheroes. I have Superheroes on the Spectrum coming out soon. It's 33 stories shining on the unique abilities of children and adults that have a diagnosis on the autism spectrum. I decided to write that because I was in Walmart with my son when he was about 11. He was throwing a fit, and a lady came up to me and said, "Why don't you beat your child?" And I wanted to ensure people understood our challenges having a child that's, yes. I like I said, I don't like using the word disabled. I think we all have our unique abilities. And then Spiritual Fitness Survivors coming out. That's an anthology that's coming out August 19th. And then
I'm in that one
and
with
you're
you.
in that one with me. That's how we met. So I have a few coming out, a few more, but the most fun books I have are the children's books and the superhero books. I Am a Superhero, which was my last children's book, teaches you to connect to your own superhero traits.
I think that's powerful. That is the special needs community. That is the other community of mine that I am super passionate about. So we have a program called Special Kicks, and we have used the martial arts in, my good student out there in Georgia named Carson. He's the one that we used to call him the autistic whisperer. He could just connect so well, and he could just tell out of the gate. He was just very good with this connection and how to use martial arts, and he put a program together. Now it's a nonprofit organization called Special Kicks, to the point we've had kids in wheelchairs, vets, children on from verbal to nonverbal from the autistic world, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. Matter of fact, he's
close
got
to my heart. Yeah.
Yes, and he's got people he's got several kids on the spectrum that he's hired, to be kind of the front door. And that's what I tell about people, they have a special place where there's one that's just a greeter. That's what he does. But everybody that comes in gets a hug, and he's asked, "How's your day?" And his name is Jabari. He's just such a cool kid. And he'll open the door for you, and it'll be, "How's your day? Are you
That's
good? Are you good?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's just what he does.
Yeah.
And then we've had one that's real close to me. If you've probably seen the video, sometimes I interview him. His name is Austin. He's got Down syndrome. Him and I are really close. Sometimes you'll watch the videos of him and I, and I'll ask him some questions about he's earned a black belt, and he's gnarly, man. As he's getting, we've had him since he's a little kid, and now he's a man now, growing a beard, and what the martial arts has done for him has been phenomenal. But what it's done for putting these special needs kids into the dojo, into the studio, where it's now they've become part of what the studio is, helps the kids deal with kids on spectrums and have a totally different avenue for them. It's something when you watch somebody root for somebody with that would have mental challenges, and they get through, and everybody in the place is rooting for them to get their new belt, and the place erupts. That kind of stuff is powerful in the martial arts world.
I would love to meet and talk to him. I bet you he could give me some wisdom, maybe a story in the book. I also want to do superheroes with the syndrome. Down syndrome is another, and then superheroes with super abilities, because my ex brother-in-law has severe cerebral palsy. He just turned 48. I mean, he's been through a lot. He uses a talker. He has a wheelchair. So I have been around the world. I used to work at UCP, United Cerebral Palsy, as a nurse. And so I would love to talk to him, because that's an amazing avenue to go in, because children on the spectrum every one of them is so different in what they can do, their sensory issues. Do they like noise? Do they not? Are they socially aware? Usually not. So being a greeter is pretty amazing depending on what you do. My son is his animals. He's a genius with animals, and he wants to rescue animals. He works at, rescues. But I would love to talk to him, because that's just another avenue, another way to go to help bring awareness.
Yes, I can definitely facilitate that. That's an easy talk, and this is his heart. This is something that he is close to his heart. It all started from Down syndrome. He saw Austin in a restaurant when he was a young kid, and he just went to the parents and says, "I want to teach your child martial arts, no charge.
Aww.
Just bring him in." And that was the start of Special Kicks. Austin's very special to us. And we've been wanting to bring him, speak about Special Kicks, and bring Austin, because you can't help when he does martial arts, man. People will just laugh at. He's just a character, man. And he's so fun, but he's such a loving kid. I just love that kid. You know what I mean? So you cannot be in a bad mood around that kid. It's just impossible. It's impossible. And now in cerebral palsy, that was another one that got to my heart, because we have a man. I'll send you a link to this too, so you can watch this one clip. But I got him on, we get him on the ground, and we do some jujitsu with him where they can kind of roll around, and we're working on stuff. And he's a big wrestling fan. And so we've just had he's a grown man, but we've had so much fun with him, and he can communicate. Now he knows what we're saying, and he communicates a little bit, and we do some jujitsu with him. But man, when we put a stripe on that kid, oh my gosh, the tears were flowing. He was so ecstatic that, he was so excited about getting a stripe on his belt from his jujitsu that we had 1 million views on TikTok from that one thing.
Oh,
it was so. This is something, we spoke about the heavyweight, man. You have kids that have some special needs that they need. It's even worse for them. The bullying is off the chain,
yes.
And it pisses me off to no end.
Yes. Plus it's hard on them. It's hard if you already have a disability, even just health wise. Like, my son's knees hurt, and, his back hurts, and, he has all these issues. So it makes it harder for him to go out and do things like sports. And so you have double, triple whammy coming at you, right? You're overweight, you've got a disability, and then what's going to happen? You're going to get bullied. So yeah, you and I have a lot of synchronicities. It's pretty amazing.
Yes, we definitely do. We definitely do. It's your boy would be the kind to do some one-on-one where they can come in, and that's why he made a foundation. And now we just launched it on the West Coast for Special Kicks, is to get funding. We do big fundraisers so that schools have a way of being able to let special needs come in, because there's cost involved when you got to pay an instructor to do. Maybe some kids can get into regular class and some need one-on-one. It's such a wide, what I'm talking. It's such a wide variety of what it is. But in Savannah, this is kind of unique. In Savannah, I don't know if you've ever, it's called Betty and Boo's Coffee. I don't know if you've ever heard about this. Their whole thing, their coffee shop, only kids with disability, that they'll have a main manager, and all their employees have some kind of a disability, whether it's Down syndrome, whether it's autistic, whether they're in a wheel, everybody, every employee there, they have made a place for them to have a purpose and to have a job. It's so awesome. It's such an awesome coffee place.
There's one in, I know someone who's recently started one. I don't know exactly when, but been pretty popular in a nonprofit in Atlanta too. Rise, I think is what it's called. And she's the same thing.
And that,
it's a coffee shop, and it's only people with disabilities work there. I'm talking to her about being part of the book because she has so many people there that she can refer. And then plus, I thought that it would be good. We could have a book signing there. So I need to talk to them in Savannah too, because what an awesome idea. Getting a job, not everybody will employ people who have
very difficult
other abilities. And, you know, there's whole programs for it. So that's great that they do that. And you started it here on the West Coast too, is what you said?
Yeah, we just launched here because, you know, when I go out there, my son and I, you know, I know all these Special Kicks students, you know what I mean? I'm close to a lot of them. And some of it's heartbreaking, man. Some of them you have in wheelchairs and then they have to go away for 2-3 months because they've had major surgeries.
Yes.
You know, whether it's, you know, some that have some brain surgeries and
yeah, my ex-mother-in-law has had more surgeries than I can tell you. He's a very amazing. Him and my ex-mother-in-law, the way she's taking care of him and what I've seen them go through and all the surgeries, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's powerful. I do have a, you know, this is where I'm a rough and tough guy, but man, I'm a softie when it comes to bullies and to special needs and kids that just struggle. It's hard because I struggled as a kid. And when I sit and have a powwow on the mat and I said, how many people have been bullied? And I don't know anybody that doesn't raise their hand. Mm-hmm. Right? They all raise their hand. And so my next question is, hey, have any of you guys been the bully? Mm-hmm. How'd you really start thinking about that? And I says, because you can't start change until you change yourself. All right. You can't change the world, but you can change your world, which in turn changes the world. The world. Mm-hmm. Right. And I said, that is the premise of what you guys want to do. And it's just I don't know. And I was so looking forward to this talk today because I'm in this world so much. You know what I mean? When you have a talk, let me ask you a couple of questions for you. Mm-hmm. When you have a talk, let's say you're in assembly, mm-hmm. and what would be your top 3 things that you tell parents about the anti-bullying? What's the top 3 that you think that your first thing that you'll talk about?
If I was talking to parents, it would be creating that open communication with your children and having them help you with solutions, teaching them, because you're teaching them how to go into the world and take care of themselves. And it's not a complete dictatorship, although yes, you're their parents and your say is the final say, but how can you involve them in those decisions? And then I would talk about building their self-confidence, that armor, so that when they do go out in the world and people do say horrible things to them, how do they take that? Do they take it in and believe it, or do they move forward? And then I would talk about connecting to your superhero traits, because I believe, and I think I've said this already, but I believe that if we all connected to what we are supposed to be doing, our sole purpose, and use that to serve others, the world would be a different place. It would be a better place, more positive. People would be happier. Doesn't mean that you have to do it for your job. It means that even if you did it 1 or 2 hours a week, I can tell you that I love being a nurse and I love my patients. But when I get on stage and speak, or when I'm coaching a child, I have a different reaction. I am much happier, because that is my sole purpose, is to change children and adults' lives and help those children build a solid foundation for success. So if we all use those superhero traits to serve others, I just think that it would be better. We would have a whole different world.
So when you have a parent talk about, you know, having an open communication with your mm-hmm. child, is this one where if you're going to coach a parent, would you have them say, listen, you need to sit down and you need to ask them, have you been bullied? Do you ask the questions? You know what I mean?
Ask questions. So how have you been bullied? Could be a question. Or are you having issues in school? And then, I talk about how to use motivational interviewing to bring out their intrinsic motivators so they can, along with you. And we use this in coaching. It's been used by counselors and psychiatrists, psychologists for many years. But we use it in coaching too, motivational interviewing, so that you can help them bring out their own willingness to change. What is connecting them to their why? Why do they want to change? And then what is the solution to do that? If you can get someone to create a solution on their own, they're going to be more likely to succeed than they are if you tell them how to change. This is what I want you to do to change. So if you were to talk to someone about eating, okay, so stop eating carbs. That's what you're going to do. If that's not what they feel they need to do and that's not what they connect with, it's not going to happen, right? Or why are they changing? Why are they doing that? So creating that open communication allows you to have a conversation where your child can help you find the solution for themselves.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's good. That's really good. Really good advice. On the last, we're kind of, we're wrapping up here soon, but when you're talking, give me some feedback on the adults. Give me some stuff that you've heard adults bring to you, and give me some advice that you've given to them. Let's get an example of what an adult maybe is bringing to you. And do you find it mostly women, or do you have any men that come to you that actually say anything?
I think it's mostly women, because mostly women listen to me speak. What I say with kids is we build a solid foundation for success. Now with adults, we have this foundation that has cracks in it from the stories of our past. So what is that story in the past that you've had that is now affecting you and how you react now? Now let's together find the beauty in the cracks in those foundation and use that to move from fear to success. So what is it? What is that story? Was it you were bullied yourself and you keep going back to that? Was it someone called you fat? And so when you look in the mirror, you see that fat person. What is that you've held on to that's affecting your life now? Let's identify it and figure out how to move forward and change the way we respond to things.
That's good advice, because I'd often asked about that. I don't personally ever get real, men are not going to go sing Kumbaya and say, oh, no, somebody's picking on me at work. And it's just not going to happen. I mean, because they'll get just ridiculed for bringing something up like that. They'll be like, what's wrong with you? You pussy or something. Let's go. You know what I mean? So I don't see that as prevalent as definitely as from the women, for sure.
We need to change that though. Guys need to be able to come and talk about it. And instead what they're going to do is come home crabby, right? And they're going to take it out on someone else.
Exactly what a guy's going to do. Absolutely.
Exactly.
100%.
We have 4 boys, I know.
That's why I tell everybody, I tell everybody, I said, I don't care, in today's society, men have to have some kind of a tribe. And if they have a tribe of other men, they can facilitate this, and they can move past it, and that's kind of from a men's perspective, but that's kind of the beauty of jiu-jitsu or whatever, this combat. It is it's almost relieving. It's you're getting things out of frustration and all that kind of stuff, and it the martial arts has brought that to the forefront for sure. So I know that, I speak about this to men quite often. I'm not a kumbaya type guy. I go to church and stuff like that, but I'm not a life group guy that will sit around with a bunch of guys and tell it has to be in a certain. There's a certain type of guy I got to be around. One that maybe we've bled with or we've been competitive with, and so in my church where they do these life groups. And people meet at homes and then once a week and do whatever they do. And life groups are great, but they weren't for me until we did one here at the studio called Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu or Bible Beatdown. So we would have Bible studies and then we would learn how to fight. And at the end of our 8 weeks, we would go in the cage and people would get to be physical on each other. Or we would do some rolling and do Jiu-Jitsu, and then we would have a Bible study. And then men, once they're physical, a lot of things can come out there. What are they struggling with? Right. Most of them with pornography or anger. Those are the two major things that men have that they struggle with so much that, they can't, or a lack of respect at home or a lack of respect at work. These are the things that in a men's world that's hard.
And the pressure of taking care of a family, or the pressure of it's all on you. Although there's mostly 2-income households if you're married or with somebody now, but still that pressure is on you. And if it's not martial arts for you, what is it? Is it running? Do you go to church and do you have a group? You have to find your way to, even if it's one person that you connect with, to be able to release that, whether it's boxing, like my youngest son is really into boxing now.
That's good.
Is it boxing? Is it martial arts? Is it running? Is it cycling? Is it football? Is it just taking a walk or reading or writing, journaling, meditating? What is it for you? It's just like finding the foods that work for you and the way you eat and when you eat and all of that so that you can shed weight. It's finding what works for you to help relieve stress and release the anger, release what is going on with you. And I think we all have a different way of doing that. I meditate, I have my tea in the morning, I take a walk, I exercise, I have my animals, my dogs. But for everybody, it's different. And for men, it's finding that and knowing that they can find someone to talk to if that's what they want to do. They may not be someone who wants to talk to others.
Right. That's super true. That's super. That's so true. So Miss Juanita said, excellent interview.
You,
she's getting ready to, I'll make sure you guys can connect. I'll make sure that happens. So
thank you.
But you know what? We're winding down our hour. So let me just have you let everybody know where they can reach you. Okay. And we can, maybe tell the title of your book here. I'll make sure everything, just so everybody knows that's watching right now and live, I will have this on audio. By the end of the day, it'll be an audio podcast also. So it'll go out on my website, my audio website, and where I have my audio portion. This will always be on YouTube. You'll be able to, if somebody wants to watch it, they can go on YouTube and watch our interview. So it's always going to be there, but you will also have all your connections can be on both on my YouTube and my web page. But why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where we can meet you at?
You can find my free guide at innersuperhero.me, and that's to create the open communication. And then my speaker page is innersuperhero.org.
So this innersuperhero.me, this is something free that people can go down.
Yes.
They can, and this is, it says here, a free guide on creating open communication with your children.
Yes.
So this is a
guide.
And
I think it's open communication with anybody. It's really not, you can create open communication with the adults in your life too.
Right.
But yes, it's free.
Okay. I think that's great. I'll make sure that we push that out. I'll push that out once we have, and I'll put this out on the CLA also. And I'll let people know, hey, if you're looking for a free guide, this is her free guide, and see if we can't get some hits on that. Okay.
And if you want to be part of the book too, contact me on there. If you want to be part of Superheroes on Spectrum, we're wrapping up getting our 33 families, but I do think it's going to be a series, and we will move on to other unique abilities after that. But I really appreciate you taking the time to interview me today, and I love all the synchronicities.
Yes. We definitely have a lot in common. That's for sure.
Well, and then we have Spiritual Fitness Survivors coming out August 19th.
August 19th. Are you going there for that, or are you not going to be there?
Our second son is graduating in Denver. So I had to choose my child over that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm going to miss it, but I will be online and seeing it.
All right. Sounds good. I'm probably going to be there. So, but we'll meet up here soon. So
definitely, I'm down in your area all the time, so we will definitely.
Yeah, if you come down here, we'll definitely. And if you come down here, we'll set something up maybe where you can come and speak at the studio, and just speak to parents in general. I think that would be something really good.
That'd be fun. We'd do a superhero day.
Yes, that'd be awesome. All right.
All
okay,
right.
man. I appreciate it, Jeannette. It was an awesome interview today. I'll have this out for you. You'll get a little something in my messenger from that, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a super day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Real Talk with Mark Cox. Real life, real topics, real conversation. We're passionate about motivation, fitness, self-defense, weight loss, and coming at it from a real angle. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show, and we hope you had fun. We know we did. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hit us up on Instagram and Facebook at MarkCox100. Make sure to subscribe and review, and tell a friend or two about the show. For more, hit up the website at markcox.com. Till next time, keep it real.